And I also think we'd be a lot better off if we actually talked to each other instead of yelling at each other. Let the other side do the yelling.
Yes, I think psychopath is a fair term to use when describing Hillary Clinton today. She went on MSDNC last night, hours after the latest would-be Trump assassin was taken into custody, and the things that she said, really unheard in American politics, at least since the end of World War II. Hillary Diane Rodham Clinton, the Democrat Party, the party that fired on Fort Sumter, the party of Jefferson Davis and the Confederate States of America, the party of terrorism, of political violence. And the rhetoric of today's Democrat Party it's not like anything we've ever heard in American political life, really, I think, since electricity. Truly remarkable. I don't know how much of Hillary Clinton you've heard from her last night appearance on Rachel Maddow on MSDNC, and it should always be mentioned that MSDNC pays Rachel Maddow $30 million a year, $30 million a year for one night a week show. That's your propaganda machine. The Democrat Party's ubiquitous propaganda machine. The corporatism. It's what Benito Mussolini defined as fascism. Fascism, pretty amazing stuff. You know, the marriage, the melding, the combination of corporate and political power. And that's what we have in the United States of America with the Democrat Party and corporate media. I think Benito Mussolini would define it as fascism. And if you're looking for a fascist, look no further than Hillary Clinton and her ankles, because just amazing stuff. And when I saw it, I've got to confess, I didn't see it until this morning. And when I saw some of it playing on TV, I said, I got to look for more of that. And I looked for more of that. And I kid you not, I'm not embellishing. I'm not making this up. I went to Al Gore's amazing internet, peace be upon him, and I looked up the word psychopath because I suspect, and after looking it up, I pretty much confirmed what I had thought, that Hillary Clinton fits the definition of psychopath, and it's not uncommon in Democrat Party circles for these people. Can you say these people? For these people to say the things and do the things that they do. I mean, Hillary Clinton was on television hours after the second would-be assassin was taken into custody of President Trump. And all this talk about dialing down the heat and the rhetoric and all that stuff, that's just another lie from the American left. And, last week they looted my city again. The mobs of Democrats, what was about 65 Democrats in the mob, looting. They looted Saks Fifth Avenue, just 3 blocks from this radio station. They looted up and down Wisconsin Avenue, down into Georgetown. They looted downtown Washington. The Democrat Party is not well. They're not good neighbors at all. They didn't burn any police cars the other day, but nothing is over, as the Democrats like to say. Also, driving in this morning, I texted Michael Piercy while I was driving in and asked him to pull a soundbite from the movie Wall Street and Gordon Gekko giving his speech to the would-be shareholders, and it talks about saving this company that he was working on and saving this other failing corporation. I'm doing this from memory. I haven't seen it in years and years. The other failing corporation, the United States of America, because that's pretty much where we are. We're a failing corporation. We're a failing country at this point, and nobody alive today has ever seen anything like what we're watching in the United States of America right now. No one. If you fought in World War I don't think there are a lot of people around that fought in World War I. You've never seen anything like it. It's truly tragic what has happened to our political system. The craven lust for power that certain people have. And President Trump, who comes from outside of the political arena, came in because he wanted to serve after doing very, very well in the private sector and becoming a multi-billionaire The Democrats, he inherited all them. He inherited like $20, and he turned it in, comparatively speaking. And he turned it into a great many billions of dollars and built skyscrapers all over the world. And New York City had to fight the Democrat machine in New York City and the corrupt unions that are in bed with the corrupt Democrats. And he rose and rose. And this is how our government is supposed to work. People are supposed to come from out there in the world, the private sector, and to serve for a period of time, but not make careers out of government service, and on and on. So in any case, a great deal to talk about once again today. Florida, the state of Florida, and Ron DeSantis, they have announced that they're going to open their own investigation into the second attempted assassination of President Trump in recent weeks. And honestly, the news media continues to be the most corrupt institution in the United States, America, hands down. Nobody comes close. The remnants of the Manson family are perfectly mainstream compared to the Democrat Party's leadership. Pretty extraordinary stuff. But Florida will announce they're going to do they've already announced they're going to conduct their own investigation. And that is, twofold at least. And first is that there are Florida state laws that were likely violated, and the federal government has not charged Creepy Boy under those laws just yet for violating those laws just yet. But nobody trusts the FBI anymore, and that's a tragic reality, but a reality nonetheless. And it truly is a horrible, tragic reality. We need to flush all the leadership out of the FBI. It used to be great that you had the institutional memory of long-serving FBI officials, and now it smells like the Soviet Union when you drive by the FBI headquarters downtown Washington, D.C. It's a horrible, horrible thing. And, of course, our intelligence community, which tampered in our last presidential election in 2020 like communists. And, hey, wait a minute, John Brennan, made CIA director by Barack Obama. Barack Obama mentored by Frank Marshall Davis of the Communist Party. Barack Obama, a Saul Alinsky follower. Hillary Clinton, a Saul Alinsky follower. Commie, radical, destroy America types. And then Barack Obama making John Brennan CIA director. Communist Party voter, voted for Gus Hall, the Communist Party candidate. And then they tampered in our election, and completely consequence-free, because the person that they corrupted the presidential election for, Joe Biden, won the election, and so there were no consequences, no investigation, no nothing. Pretty amazingly corrupt circumstances we're living with right now. But a lot to talk about, because I have some updated information for you on the creepy would-be assassin boy in Florida, who is now the Republicans lie. The Democrats lie about everything and trying to label him as a Republican. They say, "Oh, he supported Trump in 2016, then he turned on him." They lie about everything, and they'll take whatever shred of fake information they can find to advance the big lie, as their boy Joseph Goebbels used to call it. And he supported Trump in 2016. A lot of lefties supported Trump in 2016, believing that he was the worst Republican candidate ever and that he would guaranteed lose to Hillary Clinton. And so lefties, in many instances, supported Donald Trump, not because they supported a Republican nominee or supported Trump, but because they thought he would be easier to defeat, that he would more likely lose, and Hillary Clinton would become the Madame Mao of the United States of America, the Madame Khrushchev, and the Eva Braun of the Democrat. And she, last night, proved to be the Eva Braun of the Democrat Party. Pretty amazing stuff, I've got to say, all over the place. We, of course, continue to be at 888-630-9625. 888-630-9625 is our telephone number, absolutely toll-free to you, the wonderful audience of Americans and from people all over the world who want to be pro-American. And then sometimes you get like the Alexander Vindman family, who are Democrats. They escape communism, Ukraine, and then they bring their values with them here to the United States to corrupt the United States and behave in a treasonous, treacherous way because, they grew up to be Democrats. But we have lots of amazing stuff for you on those and other subjects. The Hillary Clinton stuff just just knocked my socks off, I've got to say. But another chance for Trump to frame Democrats as dangerous has emerged. That's the headline at the Washington Post. He is nearly assassinated again, and they attack him, saying that he's going to play victim just because Democrats keep sending people with rifles after him to kill him. And that's okay. He's still the villain of the story at the Washington Post. And to Hillary Clinton, who is a horrible, horrible person, and everyone knows it, just ask her husband. Democrats accuse Trump of inciting further violence by not dying. That's one of my favorite. Now, that is, I should tell you that is the Babylon Bee, where they have an actual sense of humor, unlike at the DNC or at MSDNC or at CNN or any place. In fact, the Dana Bash with J.D. Vance over the weekend, an amazing demonstration of corrupt news media. Democrats accuse Trump of inciting further violence by not dying is good satire from the Babylon Bee because it rings so true. It's so close to the truth. And amazing stuff. Fox News opinion, David Marcus. Just like that, the left has normalized assassination attempts. And they have, just as they normalized mob street violence long before January 6th. The Democrats made rioting perfectly normal, made it a regular thing, a regular feature of American politics from Seattle and Portland and San Francisco. And again, they just looted my city last week because a criminal was shot by the police. And they love criminals and hate the police. Again, the problem is not our guns, it's your sons. Stop raising criminals and we'll stop shooting them. And, you know, the police and putting them in prison for the many crimes they commit. But everybody knows that crime is running rampant in the United States. And when the FBI tells us, oh, no, crime is down, crime stats are down, we can be pretty sure they're lying. And then we learn later, oh, wait a minute. It turns out that thousands of police departments are not reporting crimes up to the Bureau of Justice Statistics at the Department of Justice. And so they're not calculating all the crime numbers in the United States. And then they give us phony, baloney numbers. It's kind of like, you know, how they give us the economic growth numbers and the jobs numbers. And then a month later, they say, oh, well, we need to revise last month's numbers. And they're always much worse than they were because lying to us like the Soviet Union has become normal for the U.S. government. Pretty amazing. You may remember when Joe Biden, he likes to accuse Donald Trump of being a threat to democracy, and he's going to end civilization, and the weather is going to be bad, and everything's going to be awful. The economy is going to implode, even though he was president for 4 years, and the opposite of all that happened. But the truth is not their thing. You may remember when Joe Biden said it's time to put Trump in a bullseye. Time to put Trump in a bullseye. That's what Joe Biden said several months ago before the first assassin showed up with a rifle and shot President Trump through the ear in Butler, Pennsylvania. And then another would-be assassin, a sniper, shows up, comes all the way from Hawaii. And it's just remarkable that the Democrat Party and then the news media, the filthiest, and this is one of the crazy, psychotic things that Hillary Clinton said last night with Rachel Maddow, said the news media needs to do a better job of demonizing President Trump because they're not doing enough to convince the American voters that Donald Trump is a threat to democracy and a threat to civilization. They're not doing enough because he hasn't been killed yet. That's Hillary Clinton's take on all of this. Maybe she thinks that he should be put in a bullseye, as Joe Biden said. And then they attack Republicans, saying Republican rhetoric has caused the efforts, the attacks on President Trump. They say, oh, the Republicans and their rhetoric, too bad. What too much mention of Jesus and going to church and paying your taxes and serving in the military and raising boys to be men and girls to be women? Is that the rhetoric that's so threatening and dangerous? Wah, wah, wah. And Kamala Harris heading out today to meet up once again with the American Society of Black Journalists. Next week, I think she's meeting with the Society of White Journalists. Oh, wait a minute. There's no such organization because that would be racist. Amazing things. We've got the Democrat Party hates the Jews and Israel. They love Hamas and the jihad and the Ayatollahs. They fund them. The Democrat Party is more responsible for the spread of jihad than the Ayatollah Ali Khamenei is at this point. Amazing stuff. And a genocidal college professor at Cornell is being welcomed back into the fold just in time for the new school year. You remember what this guy said? I've got that for you. And which big Democrat hero is being charged today with, what is it, child sex trafficking? What is it with the Democrats and child sex trafficking? They love child sex trafficking. 888-630-9625. Yeah, I can't wait to share the Hillary Clinton psychopathy with you. It's truly extraordinary stuff. To say that she's un-American and anti-American would be understatement. She's anti-civilization, and I've got that coming up. Right now, let's go to the telephones. Let's go to Larry calling from Silver Spring, Maryland. Lawrence, you're on the Chris Plant Show.
Hello, Chris.
Hey, Larry.
The reason I was calling is to ask you why you might think that Trump, or that the Trump and the Trump campaign both have ignored the Bernie Sanders remark that she had changed her views on fracking and Medicare for all for pragmatic reasons, saying those things in order to get elected. Trump should have used it in the debate, and he did not.
Yeah, there were a number of things he should have used in the debate that he didn't use in the debate, and that would be one of them. You're correct about that. And you got Bernie the Bolshevik out there who's doing some downfield blocking for Hillary Clinton. And look, and what he was saying, and I know you know this, Larry, but what he was saying was she was just lying, and now she's got a different lie because she wants to get elected, right?
That's precisely it. That's how I'd interpret it. I even looked up pragmatism, and of course it's a legitimate philosophy, but one of the items was that pragmatism was a euphemism for lying, and I think that's what fits this situation. She has done this, and it's so difficult to think of a country that is center-right could possibly elect a person as far left as she is.
Well, we can cross our fingers. Ah, yes. I cannot wait to get to the psychopathic Ms. Clinton. Remarkable stuff. A friend of mine talking about how this Routh guy who was arrested in Florida on Sunday while trying to assassinate President Trump with an SKS rifle, which is perhaps coincidentally the same rifle used by Bernie Sanders' campaign volunteer, James Hodgkinson, when he shot Congressman Steve Scalise on a baseball field and nearly murdered him. And that James Hodgkinson, Democrat Party, Bernie Sanders campaign volunteer, you'd think that might rub off on you. If you're a Republican, that'd become a permanent political problem for you. But when you're a left-wing Democrat that honeymooned in the Soviet Union like Bernie the Bolshevik, it doesn't stick to you at all. It washes right off because the Democrats and the news media give you a tongue bath from head to toe. Can you imagine a Bernie Sanders? I know, I'll just stop there. But Bernie, the news media, they just cleanse Democrats of all of their sins. And oh, well, it's not his fault. It's just his campaign volunteer that shot Congressman Steve Scalise. And the Democrats and the guy was also a Southern Poverty Law Center fan, just like the guy that attacked the Family Research Council and shot someone there. And you remember he brought the bags full of Chick-fil-A sandwiches that he was going to throw on the dead bodies of all the people that he murdered at the Family Research Council because they're pro-family. And the Democrat Party most certainly is not pro-family, not pro-child. That would be generous understatement. At the Democratic National Convention in Chicago, they were handing out free vasectomies. How do you hand out a vasectomy? Well, like this. And what else? Oh, free abortions. That's right. They're giving free abortions at the DNC and free vasectomies. And then they turn around and say that they're pro-child. Yeah. Speaking of which, they got this psychopath of a college professor at Cornell University. And last year, he was out there screaming his enthusiastic support for the massacre of Israelis on October 7th. And the university decided that was fine with them, that didn't violate any standard that they have. But he's an African-American professor, Cornell University. And shortly after, a couple of days after the massacre of 1,200 Israelis, visitors from other countries as well, mostly but not entirely Jewish, but they were massacred for being close to Jews if they weren't Jewish themselves. And it's the biggest massacre of Jewish people since World War II ended, since the United States and Britain put an end to the Socialist Workers' Party of Adolf Hitler, right? And this amazing story. Now, the guy has just been welcomed back into the fold. They put him on some kind of a fake voluntary leave after the video surfaced of him saying this absolutely crazy stuff. He called the massacre of the Israelis, of the Jews, the kidnappings, the rapes, the mutilations, the hostage taking, the torture deaths. He called all of it exhilarating and energizing. And he's a left-wing, obviously, calls himself a liberal. But, people that call themselves liberals sometimes end up in the throes of the Socialist Workers' Party in Germany and beyond. But let me share with you this amazing story from October 25th of last year. Now, the massacre was October 7th of last year. And the New York Post covered the story, but the Washington Post didn't because they're filth and not journalists at all. Cornell professor who found Hamas attack, quote, exhilarating, end quote, and, quote, energizing, end quote, now on leave of absence. They put it, doesn't mean that it was without pay or anything. They're still paying him. But amazing stuff, because last October, the Cornell professor who called the Hamas terror attacks on Israel exhilarating and energizing is now on a leave of absence until at least the end of the semester. This is last, but it's not a big deal because Russell Rickford is professor of history at Cornell University, and video went viral of his incendiary remarks to students during a pro-Palestinian protest soon after the October 7th surprise attacks on Israel killed 1,400 people, mostly civilians, almost entirely civilians. It was exhilarating. It was energizing, he said. He was seen telling the crowd, and the crowd is cheering, of course, because they're so close to being Nazis that they really shouldn't even be allowed to use the words. And it goes to the old Soviet playbook that you accuse your enemy of being guilty of everything that you're guilty of, because it muddies the waters when they go to respond to you, of course. And, we had the Obama administration State Department official out there explaining. She was on Capitol Hill under oath explaining that, the Russian playbook. Yes, Victoria Nuland of the Obama administration State Department, you may remember.
It is classic Russian technique to blame on the other guy what they're planning to do themselves.
And the Democrat Party has adopted the classic Russian playbook. When she said Russian, she really means Soviet. But that's where the Democrat Party is today. And I grew up in a Democrat Party household. My mother would find today's Democrat Party unrecognizable. Just as RFK Jr. said, his father, RFK Sr., and his uncle, John F. Kennedy, would find today's Democratic Party unrecognizable. And by the way, I've been saying that for years, haven't I, that this isn't the Democrat Party of John F. Kennedy. John F. Kennedy today would be a Republican, and he'd be to the right of Mitt Romney. But never mind that. So, and after initially standing by these statements, the embattled professor later apologized for a horrible choice of words, he said, admitting they were reprehensible, he said, before his students were told that he would no longer teach out the semester. But pay no attention to that, because now, here we are in September of 2024, and he has been welcomed back into the fold at Cornell University. Now, let me play the audio of what this Democrat Party professor said shortly after the massacre in Israel to a crowd of students who are, they have thirsty minds, and they're lapping up what the professors are telling you. You have to believe and trust the professors. They're there to teach you, after all. And this is what Democrat Professor Russell Rickford said just days after the massacre in Israel.
It was exhilarating. It was energizing. And if they weren't exhilarated by this challenge to the monopoly of violence, by this shifting of the balance of power, then they would not be human. I was exhilarated.
He was exhilarated. The shifting of power. The left is always about grabbing power. It pretty much always involves killing a lot of people. If you're aware of the events of the 20th century from 1917 forward, the Bolshevik Revolution forward, amazing stuff. And, as their boy Joseph Stalin famously said, a single death is a tragedy, a million deaths are a statistic. And the Democrat Party, they rioted and burned our country down from coast to coast and attacked the police, injuring thousands, a couple of $1 billion in property damage because St. George Floyd of fentanyl died of cardiac failure. And so the Democrats burned the country down. They put the police officer in prison where a Democrat stabbed the police officer 22 times. They're the left. They're not liberals. They're the left. Remarkable stuff, but this is today's Democrat Party. And then, of course, there were more than 1 million abortions in 2023, the highest number in more than 10 years in the United States of America for a single year. And that was the year after Roe v. Wade was overturned. But they're out there rioting in the streets because baby death is their bag baby. Isn't that amazing? Again, a single death is a tragedy. 1 million deaths are a statistic. The Democrat Party has adopted the standards and brought to life, they have reanimated the worldview of Joseph Stalin and of Joseph Goebbels and dare I say, of Adolf stinking Hitler. My father took a few years out of his youth to go over to Europe and kill those guys, those Nazis. It was recommended behavior at the time. You can't hold them together. But now here is today's news. Cornell professor who described October 7th as exhilarating back to teaching without punishment. It was exhilarating. It was energizing. It was exhilarating, he said twice. Professor Russell Rickford, a Democrat Party voter, a Joe Biden, Kamala Harris supporter, and an Obama supporter, a Hillary Clinton voter. He is a left-wing, American college professor, a Democrat. And now you can see it in the Jerusalem Post, but not in the Washington Post, because the Washington Post is not a legitimate newspaper and doesn't cover the news. And all Democrats have turned on Israel because, they are becoming like the Red Dragon. They are becoming something that might be the after-school Satan clubs that they run across the country. But Professor Russell Rickford returned to teaching at Cornell University after a brief voluntary leave following his public celebration of Hamas's October 7th attacks on southern Israel, which he described as exhilarating. The New York Post reported on Sunday, and this is the Jerusalem Post reporting this now. The October 7th Hamas, invasion of Israel murdered some 1,200 people and took over 250 hostages. The use of sexual violence during the attacks was well documented, and the invasion saw the largest number of Jewish deaths in a single day since the Holocaust. And he's out there celebrating, and now he's back to influencing the next generation of malleable young minds at a very expensive and esteemed university, because the left is in charge. And make no mistake, the Nazi Party under Adolf Hitler was the Socialist Workers' Party of Germany. The national, and I love that. I had gotten an idiot debate with an idiot liberal a while back on the radio here, who said, yeah, the National Socialists. Oh, yeah, I knew that they weren't a localized party. I knew they were national. But you guys, I'm telling you. All right, let's take a phone call. Let's go to Dave, calling from Columbia, Maryland. Dave is here. Dave, you're on the Chris Plante Show.
Good morning, Chris. Good
Hey,
to
Dave.
speak with you again.
Welcome.
Yeah, you had mentioned that this guy Ruth used the same type of rifle that the guy used to shoot Steve Scalise.
Right.
And this guy does not seem terribly gainfully employed. He came from Hawaii. Mm-hmm. He's got a extensive police record, which includes possession of a machine gun. So how did he get this gun legally? And maybe they should check the evidence locker and the serial number on the weapon that the guy that used to shoot Scalise, and see if it's the same one.
Oh, that's kind of fun. Well, you know, the serial number on this rifle in Florida was removed, was scraped off. It's a ghost gun that he got a hold of. And as a convicted felon, it's one of the minimal charges that he is facing thus far is the charge of being a felon, a convicted felon in possession of a gun, which is illegal. Maybe the Democrats should tell everybody that if you're a convicted felon, it's illegal for you to own a gun.
Yeah, there should have been a red flag on that guy somewhere.
Should have been a red flag, and he's not on a no-fly list. I think Tulsi Gabbard was placed on she's still a military officer. She served in a combat zone, unlike Tim Walz. She was a Democrat member of the House of Representatives from Hawaii, interestingly enough. And Tulsi Gabbard is on a watch list for the federal government, put her on there. But this guy was not on a no-fly list, and where he got the rifle should be a matter of some interest, but with the serial number removed, you know, you use whatever, a drill or a Dremel or something to remove it's a little ad for a Dremel, remove the serial number from the rifle, the SKS rifle. And
but let's leave that up to the state of Florida to investigate and not our FBI.
Honestly, isn't it amazing, Dave, that we've faith and confidence in the Federal Bureau of Investigation has cratered in the United States, and legitimately so because of their behavior over the course of years.
It's a crying shame. It's an embarrassment.
Our country is in a terrible place. And if you think it's bad now, wait till you hear, Dave, what Hillary Clinton said last night, because what she said is beyond the pale, beyond the ken. If she had a government...
What a shocker coming from Hillary.
Right, yeah. You know, don't cross her because, you know, you'll end up in a car somewhere in a cornfield having apparently committed suicide. Amazing stuff. Dave, thank you for the call. Keep being a great American. We've got a country to save here. All right, honestly, the thing that really got me going today was Hillary Diane Rodham Clinton. She's a hateful person. She really is. Just ask her husband. And you don't have to be a phrenologist to check the lumps on Bill Clinton's head from the big glass White House ashtrays that were bounced off of his cranium and the lamps and all the things that she's thrown at his head, his skull. Amazing stuff. All right, so I'm going to get to that. I'm going to get to that coming up. Now, let me see. Let me go back to the telephones. Let's go to Ivan, calling from Miramar Beach, Florida. Ivan, you're on the Chris Plante Show.
Hey, Chris, how you doing?
I'm great.
Chris, no matter what I do, I wind up repeating you all the time, my friend. I just wanted to talk about the media and the left, or as you talk about, I'm repeating myself.
Uh-huh.
You know, every time the media yaps, about Donald Trump or J.D. Vance or any issue being a threat to democracy, it's sad that we even have to respond to the idiots who hate democracy themselves. Now, I told you before, if you just remove the word democracy, replace democracy with Democrats. In other words, Donald Trump is not a threat to democracy. He's a threat to Democrats. And again, like you say all the time, Chris, They're simply accusing us of what they do. They are the daily threats to democracy, so they point in the other direction. We shouldn't even have to respond to them, the misdirection, but the Bible gives us two responses for them, Chris. One is answer a fool according to his folly, lest he be wise in his own eyes. In other words, you can't let it go unchecked. You have to respond to him. And then the other one says, answer not a fool according to his folly, lest you be like him yourself. So we don't answer like they answer. They answer with lies, but we answer with the truth. And then, Chris, all the media clips about Trump being his own problem, for being shot at, it proves in real time that the media is the enemy, and that Trump and also we have to fight the media like they are the enemy. And thank God, Chris, that we're in a better position today to fight the media's lies than we were the last election when we were being censored. And thank Elon for buying X. And I hope that Trump. Last point is I hope that Trump, if he debates again, I hope he defines what Democrat democracy actually looks like. All right, Chris, man, have a good day, man.
All right, Ivan, he came loaded for bear. And listen, Ivan, what you're talking about here, and I played the Victoria Nuland of the Michael push the button, but the Victoria Nuland soundbite from the Obama administration State Department talking about the Russian playbook. The Russian playbook is also the Saul Alinsky playbook. And we know that Barack Obama, deep into Saul Alinsky, when he was supposed to be teaching law in Chicago, there are photographs that he posted on his own website showing him teaching rules for radicals while he's supposed to be teaching law. Hillary Clinton actually interned with Saul Alinsky himself, which was pretty amazing. And in Rules for Radicals, one of the rules for radicals that Saul Alinsky laid out, followed by the Democrat Party and Obama and Hillary, accuse your opponent of what you are doing to create confusion and to inculcate voters against evidence of your own guilt.